Hey everyone, welcome back to VoxQueue. Today we've got some wild ones. Grab a drink, settle in, and let's get into it. There's something about being told you're overreacting that slowly starts to mess with your head. Like, you feel something's off, you know something's off, but the person right in front of you keeps looking you dead in the eyes and telling you you're wrong. And that's where this first story starts. Hannah had been with Ryan for almost 2 years, and from the outside, everything looked stable, calm, predictable. But inside, things had started to shift. It wasn't loud at first, no big arguments, no obvious betrayal, just little inconsistencies. Ryan started traveling more, said it was for work, short trips, overnight stays, nothing unusual on paper. But every time Hannah asked something simple, "Which hotel are you staying at? Who are you meeting?" He'd pause, not long, just long enough. And then he'd answer, smooth, casual, almost rehearsed. And this is where it gets worse. Because when Hannah brought it up, when she said something didn't feel right, Ryan didn't get defensive. He got calm, too calm. "Hannah, you're overthinking again." And that phrase started showing up everywhere. In front of friends, in group chats, even casually dropped into conversations like it was a joke. "She thinks I'm running some double life or something." And people laughed, but Hannah didn't, because she could feel it. That subtle shift in the room, where suddenly she wasn't the girlfriend asking reasonable questions anymore, she was the paranoid one, and then everything shifted. One night Ryan was in the shower. His phone lit up on the nightstand. Hannah didn't even mean to look at first, just a glance. But the notification preview didn't match anything she'd seen before. No name, just a symbol, and a message. "Same room as last time?" There was a silence in that moment that felt heavy, like the air itself had changed. She picked up the phone, locked. But something about that notification didn't feel random. It felt practiced. So she waited. Ryan came out, towel around his neck, completely relaxed. And Hannah just watched him, studied the way he moved, the way he avoided eye contact for just a second too long. "Who's messaging you about a room?" she asked. Ryan didn't even flinch. "Probably spam, I get those all the time." And that should have been the end. But it wasn't even close, because here's what he didn't expect. A few days later, Hannah was helping him with something on his laptop. And while switching tabs, she saw it. An email account, not the one she knew, a completely separate login. Different name, different inbox, and inside, hotel confirmations. Multiple. Same location, same dates. Dates that didn't match the work trips. And suddenly, everything clicked. The pauses, the calm tone, the way he'd been setting the narrative before she could even question it. This wasn't random, it was controlled. And Hannah didn't confront him right away. She waited, because if he could lie that smoothly, she needed proof that couldn't be denied. So the next time they were around friends, when the conversation drifted back to Ryan's busy travel schedule, Hannah just quietly said, "Yeah, the hotel on Maple Street again, right?" Ryan froze, just for a second, but everyone saw it. "What?" he said. Hannah pulled out her phone, opened the screenshots, the hidden account, the confirmations, the dates, and placed it on the table. No yelling, no scene, just silence. And that silence said everything. Because the moment the proof became public, the narrative collapsed. Ryan wasn't calm anymore, he wasn't controlled, he was scrambling, trying to explain something that had already been seen, and that should have been the end. But what hit hardest wasn't the betrayal. It was realizing how close she came to believing she was the problem. And if that one felt messy, the next one gets worse. Because this time, it wasn't a partner, it was a friend group. Lucy had always been the organized one. Trips, plans, events, she handled it all. So when the group decided to book a weekend getaway, everyone trusted the process. Money got sent to one person, Cole, the admin, the one who handled everything. And for a while, everything seemed normal. Until it didn't. A week before the trip, Lucy noticed something off. No confirmations, no itinerary, no updates. So she asked, simple question. "Hey, do we have the booking details yet?" Cole responded instantly. "Yeah, I'll send it later. Chill." And there it was again, that tone, dismissive, casual, and this is where it gets worse. Because when Lucy followed up again, suddenly the narrative shifted. She's stressing everyone out. She keeps overreacting. And just like that, the group dynamic changed. People stopped responding to her messages, started side texting, and Lucy could feel it. That same isolation Hannah felt, that same quiet pressure, but Lucy wasn't guessing. She started checking messages, timelines, payment confirmations, and then she found it, a DM thread, not meant for her. Screenshot sent to her by someone who had stayed quiet until they couldn't anymore. And inside that thread, Cole admitting he hadn't booked anything, saying he was figuring it out, joking about using the deposit for something else temporarily, and telling people, just let Lucy panic, she always does. That should have been the end, but Lucy didn't react right away. She waited. Group dinner, everyone present, normal conversation. And then she placed her phone on the table, opened the screenshots, and said, "Can someone explain this?" The room went quiet. Cole didn't speak, didn't move, because there's something about seeing your own words in front of everyone that removes every escape. No spin, no narrative control, no deflection, just truth. And the fallout hit instantly. People started asking questions, demanding answers. The same people who had stayed silent suddenly wanted clarity. And Cole? He couldn't keep up, because once the illusion breaks, it breaks fast. And if you think that's bad, the last one is pure karma. Casey lived in an apartment complex with shared laundry, and for weeks, something kept happening. Every time they started a cycle, it would stop halfway. Clothes soaked, timer reset. At first, they thought it was the machine, then maybe bad luck. But then it kept happening. Only to them. And then everything shifted. One day, Casey walked in just in time to see someone opening the machine. Luke, a classmate, casual, relaxed, like nothing was wrong. "Hey, were you just using this?" Casey asked. Luke shrugged. "No, it stopped on its own." And that should have been the end. Except it kept happening. And every time Casey asked, Luke denied it, smiled, dismissed it, like it was nothing. But Casey wasn't guessing anymore. They started tracking, timing the cycles, noting the interruptions, and then they noticed something. Luke always showed up, right before it stopped, so Casey set a trap, started a load, left, but didn't actually leave, waited, and watched. And there it was. Luke walked in, looked around, opened the machine, pressed something, and stepped back. Like it was routine. Casey walked in, right then. No warning, no build-up, just, "Why are you touching my laundry?" Luke froze, same pattern, same silence. But this time, Casey didn't need words. They pulled out their phone, opened the charging log from the smart outlet connected to the machine, time-stamped, exact moment the machine stopped, matched to when Luke walked in, proof, and that's when everything collapsed. Because denial only works until it doesn't. And in that moment, Luke had nothing left. No explanation, no excuse, just exposure. And when you step back and look at all three of these, there's a pattern. It's not just the lying, it's the confidence behind it, the assumption that if you say something enough times, people will believe you, that if you control the narrative early, you can shape how others see the situation. But here's what they all missed. Proof doesn't argue, it doesn't debate, it doesn't get emotional, it just exists. And the moment it shows up, everything changes. Because social pressure flips. The same people who doubted you start questioning them. The same silence that worked in their favor becomes the thing that traps them. And that's why exposure moments hit so hard. Because they're not just about being right, they're about reclaiming reality, about taking back control from someone who tried to rewrite it. And maybe the most important part is realizing you weren't overreacting. You were just early. And if there's one thing to take from all of this, it's this: trust what you notice, even when it's quiet, even when it's subtle, even when someone tries to convince you it's nothing. Because sometimes that feeling is the only thing standing between you and being completely misled. And the truth? It always finds a way out. And once it does, There's no putting it back. So if you've ever had that moment where something didn't sit right, but you couldn't prove it yet, just remember, that doesn't mean you're wrong, it just means the story isn't finished yet. And if you stayed with me through all of this, there are more stories just like this waiting. Different people, same patterns, same moments that should have stayed hidden, but didn't. I'll see you in the next one.